What if the entire landscape of the NBA was about to get turned on its head? Forget everything you think you know about super teams, because we're diving into a reality that could absolutely break the league. We're not just talking about another title run, we're talking about a complete shift in the balance of power. Now let's get the facts straight. As of right now, LeBron James has picked up his massive $52.6 million player option to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers for the 2025-26 season. According to reports, there haven't been any serious trade talks, and the expectation is that he'll be in purple and gold for training camp. But this is the NBA, and things are never that simple. His agent, Rich Paul, made it clear they want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage, emphasizing his hunger for another championship. With the Lakers' long-term plans seemingly focused on the future, the door is cracked open, ever so slightly, for the unthinkable. So, we're going to walk through that door and explore the blockbuster moves that would send shockwaves from coast to coast. From teaming up with his biggest rivals to forming a dynasty that would make past super teams look like a warm-up, we've picked 4 teams where a LeBron trade wouldn't just be a game changer, it would be an NBA apocalypse. And we're about to break down every single one. Before we get into these league-shattering scenarios, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the NBA's collective bargaining agreement. Pulling off a trade for a 40-year-old superstar in his 23rd season with a $52.6 million price tag isn't like playing a video game. First off, LeBron is holding all the cards. His contract includes a full no-trade clause, which means he has veto power over any deal. He is the master of his own destiny and won't be going anywhere he doesn't want to go. Second, there's the salary cap minefield, specifically the dreaded second apron. Think of this as a financial prison for the league's biggest spenders. If a team crosses that line, their ability to build a roster gets completely crippled. They can't stack salaries in trades, they can't sign valuable buyout players, and they risk having future draft picks frozen or dropped to the end of the first round. Any team that trades for LeBron would almost certainly be living in this second apron nightmare, forcing them to get incredibly creative. They'd have to ship out a mountain of salary just to make the numbers work and would probably be stuck filling out the roster with minimum contract veterans. It's a high-wire act that could totally backfire. But for a shot at a title with one of the greatest to ever do it, it's a risk some teams would be willing to take. These are the 4 teams with the motive, the means, and the championship dreams to pull off the heist of the century. We'll count them down from a fascinating possibility to the one that would truly break the NBA. Let's start with a move that would create an Eastern Conference monster. What if LeBron James decided to join the Philadelphia 76ers? The storyline is incredible. The King teaming up with Joel Embiid and Paul George. After an injury-plagued and disappointing first season in Philly for George, this move would be a jolt of lightning. Imagine a lineup with LeBron running the offense, flanked by 2 elite two-way players in Embiid and George. On paper, it's a terrifying combination of size, skill, and basketball IQ. Embiid is a dominant force inside. George is a premier wing scorer and defender. And then you add LeBron, one of the greatest floor generals in history. He would immediately solve any late-game playmaking questions, creating a pick-your-poison situation for every defense in the league. With LeBron orchestrating, Embiid could feast in the paint without facing constant double teams, and George could get easier looks than ever before. This team wouldn't just be a contender, they'd be the instant favorites to come out of the East, a brutal combination of veteran leadership and top-tier talent. So how could it happen? The money is tricky, to say the least. The Sixers are already committed to huge contracts for Embiid and George. To absorb LeBron's $52.6 million, they'd have to send out a ton of salary and likely gut their depth. They'd be pushed deep into that restrictive second apron, meaning the team you see on day one is pretty much the team you'd have for the playoffs. It would be a massive all-in gamble on a short championship window with an aging core. But for a franchise starved for a title, The temptation to unite this trio might be too strong to resist. Next up, a move that's dripping with nostalgia. The prodigal son returns home for one last ride. LeBron James going back to the Cleveland Cavaliers would be more than just a trade, it would be the final chapter in one of the greatest stories in sports history. But this isn't just about feelings. This move makes terrifying basketball sense. The Cavs are already a rising team in the East, built around a young, exciting core. Now, imagine injecting LeBron's championship experience into a roster with an offensive dynamo like Donovan Mitchell and a defensive phenom in Evan Mobley. LeBron would be the ultimate mentor and connector. He could slide in as the point forward, taking the playmaking burden off Mitchell and guiding Mobley's final steps towards superstardom. The on-court fit is tantalizing. With Mobley and Jarrett Allen protecting the paint, LeBron would be free to roam on defense. On offense, he'd be surrounded by Mitchell's scoring and a promising young core. Even with recent trade chatter around players like Allen and Darius Garland, the foundation is strong. The Cavs would instantly transform from a tough playoff team into the team to beat in the East. They'd have the perfect mix of youth and experience, a formula that has historically led to dynasties. The trade itself, however, is a huge obstacle. The Cavs' payroll is already projected to be in the luxury tax, flirting with that second apron before even thinking about LeBron. To make salaries match, they'd almost certainly have to part with a core piece like Garland or Allen, plus more players, which could mess with the chemistry that makes them so good. It makes a straight-up trade a logistical nightmare. A more plausible, though still unlikely path could be a buyout from the Lakers, but that's pure fantasy. Still, for the city of Cleveland and a team this close to contention, bringing the king home for one last run would be a dream worth any price. Before we get to the top two teams that would absolutely shatter the league, let me know in the comments which of these first two moves would you rather see? LeBron back in Cleveland or forming a big three in Philly? Drop a comment below and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Now we're getting into truly league-breaking territory, a scenario that feels like it was ripped from a Hollywood script. LeBron James, the ultimate rival, joining forces with Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors. For a solid decade, these two guys defined the NBA, battling in 4 straight finals. A team-up between them wouldn't just be a big deal, it would be an earthquake that rocks the entire league. The basketball fit is just ridiculous. You'd be pairing two of the smartest players to ever pick up a basketball. Just try to picture a LeBron-Curry pick and roll. How does a defense even begin to guard that? Do you switch and let LeBron go one-on-one with a smaller guard, or leave Curry on an island with a bigger defender? Do you trap and give Draymond Green a 4-on-3 advantage with shooters everywhere? There's no right answer. LeBron would bring the one thing the Warriors' beautiful offense has sometimes lacked, a dominant physical force who can get to the rim whenever he wants. His presence would also completely revitalize their aging core. He and Draymond would share the playmaking, which would let Steph run wild off the ball, creating absolute chaos. The Warriors' championship DNA combined with LeBron's leadership would make them the immediate and undisputed favorites in the West. The sheer amount of star power and basketball intellect on one roster would be overwhelming. The story of old enemies uniting for one last ride would dominate sports for an entire year. Of course, the financial reality is again a complete mess. The Warriors are already juggling a massive payroll. Adding LeBron's contract would launch them deep into the second apron, giving them almost no room to add supporting players. A trade would mean giving up key young guys and future draft picks, essentially mortgaging their future for one last glorious shot at a ring. People would question the egos and the chemistry, but the chance to create what could be argued as the most skilled team of all time might be too tempting for anyone to pass up. And finally, we've arrived at the #1 spot. The one move that wouldn't just bend the rules of the NBA, but would shatter them into a million pieces. The move that would create an offensive juggernaut so powerful, so unstoppable, that it would redefine what is even possible on a basketball court. LeBron James joining Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the Dallas Mavericks. This isn't a super team, this is an offensive apocalypse. You would have three of the most gifted playmakers and shot creators of this generation on the same floor. The basketball IQ would be completely off the charts. Luka is already a generational offensive weapon, a master at controlling the game. Kyrie is one of the most skilled one-on-one scorers and clutch players we've ever seen. Now you add LeBron James to that, a guy who can run the offense, play off the ball, or be a devastating force rolling to the rim. The fit works because all three are basketball geniuses who know how to adapt. LeBron wouldn't have to carry the whole load every single night. He could play more off the ball, cutting and attacking, saving his energy for crunch time. The Mavericks could run offensive sets that would be a nightmare to defend, with any of the three able to initiate and make the right play. Defenses would be trapped in an impossible guessing game on every possession. It would be a relentless, overwhelming attack that could potentially become the most efficient offense in the history of the sport. With LeBron on board, the Mavs would skyrocket from a playoff team to the absolute favorite to win the title. Their ability to close out games would be second to none, with three of the most clutch players in the league. The big question, of course, would be on defense. Putting this trio together would likely cost Dallas most of its defensive identity and depth. A trade for LeBron would require a huge package, leaving the rest of the roster paper thin. They'd be betting that their historic offense could simply outscore everyone in their way. It's a bold, all-or-nothing gamble. But the thought of uniting LeBron, Luka, and Kyrie would create a spectacle so powerful it would break the league. So there you have it. 4 hypothetical trades, 4 different paths to NBA anarchy. A move to the Sixers would create a physical, veteran-savvy monster in the East. A storybook return to Cleveland would unite a young, hungry core with its hero. A shocking alliance with the Warriors would bring together the greatest rivals of their time to form a team of basketball geniuses. And a trip to Dallas would create an offensive trio so lethal it might just break the scoreboard. While reports suggest LeBron James will stay a Laker for his 23rd season, the NBA is a league where things can change in an instant. Player empowerment and the relentless pressure to win mean that nothing is ever really off the table. Each of these trades represents a different kind of chaos, shattering rivalries, fulfilling legacies, and creating on-court pairings we've only dreamed about. The financial hurdles are massive, and the risks are huge, but the hunt for a championship makes teams do crazy things. For now, these are just what-ifs, but they're a powerful reminder that in today's NBA, one decision from one player can change everything. The balance of power is always fragile, and with a force like LeBron still playing at an elite level, it's always one move away from being completely broken. That's our list. Which team do you think would be the most unstoppable? Let me know your #1 pick in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more NBA what-ifs. Thanks for watching. And if you're chasing more history-shaking highlights, subscribe to Posterized Playback, where the legends live forever.